Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch EFL League One Week 4 review, Week 5 preview. My name is Phil Kennedy, and as always for these episodes, I am joined by Tony Robinson. How are you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing well, Phil. How's things in Phoenix?
Oh, not too bad. It's still been over 100 degrees here, even in October, but finally starting to cool down a little. I know you've got some fall weather coming to Canada for sure.
Yeah, the snow's not flying yet. We got a nice sunny day, and but it's a good day to talk football and go over what we the weekend, and that would lead us right into a good segue to. A review of our predictions from last week. So
let's go over those. What did we say last week? I know you write those down, and then I don't even remember what I said sometimes.
Well, we were pretty good in the wins. We weren't really bang on the scores, but let's start with the Wimbledon and Stanley match. The result was 2-1. You had a 4-3 prediction. And I actually got this one right for a change. I had a 2-1 win for Stanley, so it was nice to see that one. Burton Albion versus Portsmouth. You had you got this bang on. You had a 2-1 win for Portsmouth. I had a 4-2 win. I saw a few more goals, but we both had a win, and you had the correct scoreline. Okay, for Charlton and Sunderland, it was a 0-0 draw, and I had a 2-2 draw. I was right about that, but not on the scoreline. You actually had Phil Sunderland away win, so didn't quite come off for you there. Now, Hull versus Plymouth. You had a 2-1 win, and I had a 3-1 win, and it was actually 1-0 win for Hull. So we had the win, but again, not the right numbers. For Blackpool, I had a 1-1 draw with Blackpool and Lincoln, and the actual was 3-2. And believe it or not, Phil, you got it bang on with the 3-2 win for Lincoln.
Yeah, that one was an interesting game. I know George Grant, who's a guy that we've talked about a lot, he had 2 goals at that one. And yeah, that was the only one that kind of went exactly like I expected. And then I know for the Stanley versus Wimbledon, I did start with the 4-3 on the show. And then I kind of changed to the Wood one in my article. So I guess if you add the two together, I was close.
Well, we'll give you that one, Phil. Just before I forget, too, and when I listened to the last week's podcast, and like we always should do, is that confirm our facts. And if we get something wrong, we sort of admit that. And I actually made 3 little boo-boos on the last week's show. So just acknowledge that I did find them out and correct them. I mentioned in the result from the Carabao Cup, and I called it the Caribou Cup, which I believe is only played in Canada, so we can't go with that. And I
thought that was just your accent.
No, that was me making a mistake. That must be the Northern Alberta Cup or something. And the one I said a formation, I said 4-2-2, which obviously should have been a 4-4-2 formation. I did say at one point the Burton score was going to be 2-1 for Burton, and actually I did mean the 2-1 win for Portsmouth. So just to correct the little errors that I made, and hopefully this is on today, Phil.
Well, we try to be as good as we can, but sometimes we all make mistakes here and there, and I try to catch them on editing. But one thing that you said there that was a good segue had to do with the formations. And in my article, I had predicted that Accrington might go back to the 4-4-2. They did come out in the 3-5-2 again. And, one thing I've been kind of noticing is it seems in League One that there's a lot of teams that are playing 3-5-2 this year.
Yeah, it seems to be the flavor of the moment, where they want to get these wing backs to come forward and get the crosses in and go with the three center backs. And I thought Stanley's formation this year, because of the player personnel that John Coleman has, and it works for them, and it's nice to see, because it's an exciting brand, and gets the as you say, gets the people into play that like Tariq Uruguay and players of that nature, and that's exciting, because they're the ones you want to see on the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just kind of really what I was noticing is that of the four opponents Stanley has played so far in league, Peterborough, Oxford, and Wimbledon, they all played a 3-5-2 also. So far, Burton is the only team that Stanley's faced that's played the 4-4-2. So I think that a little of it might even have to do with kind of just matching up, like with what you said, seems to be the flavor of the month. And I think it might have to do a lot with, at this level, it seems like there's a lot of very talented center backs. And I think it just might be a matter of the managers at this level kind of taking advantage of the bulk of center back talent that's available.
Well, and on top of that, Phil, not only you're bang on with that, but also there's a lot of talented wing backs, and that's showing through. And when you get that combination, it makes for some exciting football. I think the score lines are reflecting the play too, because we are seeing in majority of matches, we're seeing some scoring, and I think that's because of the formations that's being used, and the players, the skilled players in those positions.
Now, speaking of skill players and positions, one of the things that we had talked about last week was that Stanley was kind of lacking some creativity in the midfield of the Oxford match, and it really seemed like they'd kind of been without a true number 10. Matt Butcher, he's a guy that came in and kind of was described as a box-to-box guy. I would say in the earlier matches, he was playing a more defensive role. They really moved him into that central attacking 10 midfield position in the Wimbledon match. He scored a goal. He was really... He ignited the offense, and I think that we're going to see more of Butcher playing that attacking 10 role.
Yeah, I thought he had an excellent match. He obviously the League One officials thought so too, because him along with Ross Sykes made the League One team of the week, and having Tariq back on the line, and I thought that the midfield played really well this week. Defensively, they're getting better too with those three center backs. I just thought the play was more solid. And they got the rewards. Now, granted, they did towards the end of the match. There was a nice shot from I forget the player from Wimbledon that hit the post and come out, and then the rebound went wide. Where in the first half, that they Wimbledon got the goal from that same kind of a play. So as John Coleman said, so fine margins in this place, and luck plays a lot in a game. And today the ball, spun the right way for Stanley.
Well, I think he hit the nail on the head on a lot of things there, and especially with the midfield play, because that had been a concern at the Oxford game. And, certainly having Tariq back was a huge boost, because he just brings so much to the table. The one concern I do have, though, is at the forward position. I mean, Colby Bishop, he was making his first start. We saw what he had available last year. I think he's just kind of not got his legs under him yet. I think we saw that when Ross Sykes made that break up the right side and hit that cross in, and Bishop just didn't quite have the legs to get the head on it. I think that maybe that's what we're seeing with him. Ryan Cassidy, he's a guy, he's on loan from Watford. He's only 19 years old. He's certainly got some skill, but with Dion Charles out, I just thought that we were lacking production at the center forward position, and we actually ended up finishing the game without any true center forwards at all on the pitch because Cassidy, he was subbed off for John Russell, who's the new loanee signing from Chelsea that came in. And when he came in, so they took Cassidy off, and then they moved Pritchard up to the forward. And then later on, they ended up subbing Bishop out to bring in another defender. So, I mean, at the end of the match, we were playing with no true center forwards on the pitch. So, I mean, it seems to me that Coleman was kind of seeing what I saw, that we just weren't getting a lot of production up there. Do you think this is just going to be the case until Charles comes back?
Well, it's Bishop certainly ran out of steam in the second part of the second half. Yeah, I think it might be the way things are going to pan out for the next couple of matches. I think, with the midfield, and they certainly had the possession did this week in Stanley at 53%. I think the shots on target, only 4 out of total 13 shots. I think John Coleman would like to see more shots on target. And I think that will come as Bishop gets his sea legs, so to speak. But overall, a good performance. And, even with with Charles not being there, they still seem to be able to control the ball and get and create some chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that getting the kind of production that we got out of Butcher is going to be key going forward.
Well, and again, they scored at key times of the match. Two goals in the last 5 minutes of the first half really broke the back of Wimbledon. And they played well, but Stanley just had the edge this week, and it was nice to see a rebound and get the second win. And you could see the players playing with a bit more confidence, and I think that was a much needed and well earned victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Sean McConville was saying on the broadcast, is that it was just a much needed confidence boost. And I think that for a young team, average age of the squad is 23.4 years. So, I mean, for guys like that, a little bit of confidence could go a long way. Let's move on and talk about some of the really high-performing teams. And one of the scores that you had read off was the Hull City versus Plymouth Argyle match. We had both seen that Plymouth had scored 6 goals in their first 3 matches, so we both thought, okay, there's going to be some goals in this game. Didn't turn out that way. Hull City is now not only 4-0-0 through 4 weeks, they still have not allowed a goal yet. Are we looking at this is just a team that's going to kind of walk the league and head back to the championship, because they're not only beating strong teams, they haven't allowed a goal all year. I mean, obviously that won't keep up, but do you think this is going to be one of these years where we see Hull end up with 95, 100 points?
I don't think so. I'm not ready to commit to that yet, Phil. I probably underestimated them at the preseason, but when we do our review show after, say, a dozen matches, then I'll answer that question, I think, with more thoroughly. But they were solid. Plymouth's a good side too. They played well. It was, I think, Hull. I was impressed with Hull's play, and especially their number 10, Honeyman. I think he's a nice player. Again, seems.
Oh yeah, he's the guy that came from Sunderland, right?
Yeah, he just makes them look good, and yeah, they're a solid team, and it was a close match, and Plymouth certainly did themselves proud. Just that they played Hull they're in the midst of obviously a good run, and caught them on a day where Hull was just a little bit better. But definitely 2 good teams, and Hull will be up there. But I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon and give them an automatic promotion at this point just yet.
Well, let's talk about the team that's actually listed at the very top of the table right now. And this is a team that we've been talking about all year long. And I think that we probably didn't even quite expect this much of a start out of them. But Lincoln City, they really showed something to me because they had to come back from down twice at Blackpool. They ended up with a 3-2 win. George Grant, he's now leading the league in goals with 4. He had a brace in that match. Tony, what are your thoughts on Lincoln City?
Well, I'm starting to become a believer. I think that the goal that they got to win was definitely a game winner. Blackpool played well and really, really should have got a result out of that. But I was a little concerned with a couple of the one goal that Lincoln gave up, the first one. Appleton wants them to play out from the back with the keeper basically as a sweeper. And they made a really mess up and really gifted Blackpool the first goal. But possession-wise, both teams were at 50%. Blackpool had a lot of chances, 17 shots, but only 3 on target. And as we said in the past, that ratio is not going to get you a result. Whereas Lincoln, 12 shots and 7 on target. And when you get over 50%, and that's well over 50%, you're going to get the results. Yes, Lincoln are maybe, like you said last week, Phil, maybe Lincoln are the Wickham of this season.
I mean, it certainly looks like it so far. And like you said, they're not just going out and having to get an early lead and hang on to it, but they got behind early in that game. They were able to overcome that mistake. They were able to get the late winner. And that kind of brings me into the next thing I wanted to talk about. And when you look at the bottom of the table, I think you see MK Dons at the very bottom. No big surprise there. Burton Albion 23rd, not a huge surprise there. But then in 22nd, you see Blackpool. 21st, you see Fleetwood Town. I mean, especially Fleetwood. These were both teams that we at least thought would be in the top 10. What's wrong with Blackpool and Fleetwood right now, in your opinion?
Well, Blackpool, really, I think the results are a bit harsh on them. I think Blackpool is a team that, they lost a tough one there, as we said, against Lincoln, but I don't think they're the fact that they've lost 3, only won 1 is indicative of the team, and I'm confident that they'll move out of the bottom 4. Fleetwood is a team that's in a bit of trouble now, and they just don't seem to be defending well. Not only are they not scoring, they're defensively, they just don't seem to be all on the same wavelength at the moment. And Fleetwood is a team, when it's like a wounded animal. They can be a bit dangerous if you face them. So I think that's going to be a tough match, and that will come up in our predictions because Fleetwood take on Hull, and we'll talk about that one later. But yeah, Fleetwood's
let's actually, as long as we're on the topic now, let's go to our surprise of the week segment. Okay. And usually I let you go first, but since we're already talking about Fleetwood, my surprise of the week was Rochdale 2-1 over Fleetwood. I mean, if that had been something where we had a draw, okay, maybe Rochdale's been playing some decent defense, but I mean, Rochdale, they're a team that almost everybody had finishing 23rd or 24th. They showed a good showing up against Portsmouth a couple of weeks ago. So do you think this is a matter that maybe Rochdale is better than we expected? Or do you think this is a matter of Pompey came in when they were struggling, Fleetwood's now coming when they're struggling, and, that type of thing?
I think it's it's Rochdale was on a good day and Fleetwood just on a bad day. And the Fleetwood, as I said, struggled, and giving up, giving up a 90-minute goal is it's just a tough way to lose a match. But they're just on the wrong side of the results at the moment. And again, going back to John Coleman's comment about the fine margins in football, and this is another one, but it was a big win for Rochdale. I did actually have that down for my surprise of the week as well, Phil. But as a backup, I had and it was one of the predictions that we, because I thought you might go with the Rochdale match. But,
before we move on from the Rochdale match, one thing I did want to mention real quick, that 90th minute goal that you mentioned was by Fabio Tavares. He actually subbed on in the 85th minute, so he was only on for about 4 minutes before he got that goal. He's in his second year with Rochdale. Last year, he only started one game, subbed on 13 times, had one goal in 307 minutes. I mean, this is a young kid who hasn't had much experience other than a sub, but I think he's somebody that maybe we look out for, that, you know, maybe he ends up becoming somebody that goes into the starting lineup to produce goals for them if Rochdale's going to do something this year.
Yeah, and if you look at possession, Fleetwood had 63%. They only managed 7 shots and only 1 on target. That shows to me that there's a lot of play in and around the box, and they're just not getting it into to the forwards or getting shots on target. Rochdale obviously made their chances worth pay, and they had 15 shots with 8 on target. And that to me, those are the stats that really, show what the score line is, because obviously possession, you can have lots of possession, but if you're not creating chances, then it doesn't really count for anything.
Well, what you're saying about shooting percentage, and I think that, what I've tended to notice is that with every sport, it seems like there's one key stat that really tells the story, and it's kind of like, if you get this stat, then you're going to win 7 out of 10 games, or if you don't get this stat, you're going to lose 7 out of 10 games. And in American football, that's always been the turnover battle, basically what team takes away the ball from their opponent more than they give it away, that wins 70% of the time. And in Major League Baseball, it's getting a quality start out of your pitcher, which means that your starting pitcher went at least 6 innings without giving up more than 3 earned runs. If you get that, you're going to win about 70% of the time. With football here, what you're looking at is it just seems to be that 40% is that key number, where if you shoot 40% or better, then you're going to win about 70% of the time. And here we see a perfect example. In spite of 37% possession, Rochdale, they're 8 out of 15, 53%. Fleetwood, 1 out of 7, 14%. I guarantee you, if you look down 100 matches, that it would probably be about 70, 75 of the teams that shot at least 40% would win those matches.
Yeah, you're right, Phil. So, but as I say, that my second choice for surprise of the week is one of the matches that we talked to, we previewed, was the Burton against Portsmouth. And I'm hoping that I'm pretty sure things have quietened down a little bit in Pompeyland, because that was a well-deserved and well-earned win, with 4-2. Hartness, I should say, looks like a good player. And that one goal he scored with just a back heel into the net, and the last goal for his hat trick. They definitely broke out of their slump, and hopefully that will get rid of Jacket fans a little quieter for now. But they're converting their chances. Phil, they'd 7 shots on target out of a total of 18. So they got their game together. And Burton really, I'm a bit concerned by their defending. They're just don't seem to be organized, and they're coughing up goals right, left, and center. And there's a team that's going in the wrong direction, and quickly.
Well, I think with Burton, this was a team where we were concerned what the impact of Nigel Clough leaving was going to be, and I think that we're starting to see that now. I mean, you have Buxton, who's a first-year manager in there, and then again, like you said, looking at the shooting percentage, Portsmouth, 39%. We'll go ahead and round that up to 40. And then Burton with 17%. And one thing I had said at the end of last week's show was that I thought that 89th minute goal for Pompey might kind of be an icebreaker. Well, they turned around. Harness got that goal right in the second minute.
Yeah.
That really, kind of blew it open. And then they got, like you said, 4 goals. So yeah, I think that we're going to see that Pompey is going to be one of these teams that, last year they got off to a slow start too. They are having trouble with scoring. So I think that, it's definitely going to be a team that we see move forward.
Yeah, I think that result was the one that sort of kickstart the season, and we could look back after 12 matches and say this was the match that got them back on track. Which leads me to the one match that really I was surprised at the result, in the sense no goals, was the Charlton-Sunderland match. Mm-hmm. And Charlton, these are some stats that really makes your head shake a little bit, is the fact they did have 55% of the possession, but the 4 shots, but none on target. And to come away with a point when you don't get a shot on target is really unusual. So they obviously did something right. I thought Sunderland played well. The red card that they got in the 73rd minute kind of hurt any chances, because they like to score a bit late too, and I think it really hurt their chances of getting a win. But 1-1 again. Sunderland is a team that we look at for draws, and if they keep getting draws, then obviously they're going to play themselves out of a promotion or a playoff position.
Yeah, no, Sunderland, it seems like they're going to be a team that just kind of parks the bus this year from what I'm seeing here, and that might be this Parkinson's strategy. It's just, okay, we need to find some way to get out of League One. We'll just rely on our defense. So far, 2-0 mixed results.
Well, you're right. I mean, they've scored 4, only given up 1, and they've got 8 points. So they haven't lost a match. I think they, if they could start scoring some goals, then they could be in a shot for an automatic promotion position. It's just. And maybe they'll have a match like next week, like Portsmouth did this week, and kickstart their season. But after 4 matches, you got 8 points. I think most teams would take that.
Well, yeah, I mean they're 4th in the table through 4 matches. They've only scored 4 goals. So, but yeah, Lee Burge, he's playing outstanding in the net for them. He's only let 1 in all year, and that was a penalty kick. So they haven't allowed a goal from the road of play all season. Is definitely something that's worth noting. I did want to mention real quick that it looked like we might be on the right track with Ipswich a little bit, when we said that their hot start might not be as good as they looked, because they did come out. And then they had a draw against MK Dons, who are dead last in the table. So what do you think that says something about Ipswich, and that maybe they are going to be more of a mid-pack team, or do you think that it was just kind of one of those days at Stadium MK?
Well, I think when I've seen Ipswich, they've never really sort of I'm not jumping up and down and overly impressed with Ipswich yet to get results. They're a decent team, and they've got a good manager, and I still think they'll be there in and about. You're going to get these results during the course of the season, and yeah, I assume they expected to win this match, but you can't. It just goes to show you in this league, you can't take anybody for granted, and Milton Keynes got a point, and they'll be happy for that. But I think when you look at Ipswich, they'll probably look at this as 2 points dropped.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think before we move into next week, there was one story of a game that didn't get played. And Tony, I know you'd done more research on this than I had, but that was the Oxford versus Crew Alexandra match. And I understand it was one of the Crew players tested positive for COVID. Well, what all did you find out about that, Tony?
Yeah, it was apparently Omar Beckles, that is an ex-Stanley player that is with Crew, tested positive earlier on, and I think there was a bit of didn't sit well with Oxford in the sense that the match was only cancelled just prior to kickoff, and I think Oxford thought they should have been given a bit more warning, but yeah, it's I think this is the first one we've seen because of the COVID that's created a problem, and also it might cancel Crew's match against Wigan this coming weekend. We'll just have to wait and see. But yes, it didn't sit well with Oxford. But I mean, to be honest, to play safe, it's the right call. I think Oxford just wanted the decision to be made earlier, but it's a tough one to, and you can't really. Yeah, it's hard to point finger of blame, but they did the right thing in postponing the match.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where it's just in this current pandemic, it's going to happen. And, as long as they limit exposure and postpone the matches, that's the key to keep everybody healthy.
Right.
All right, Tony. Well, let's look ahead to the coming up week. And we'll save Stanley here for last.
Right.
We'll save Stanley here for last. And the first match that you wanted to do a prediction on was Fleetwood versus Hull, who we mentioned already are at two opposite ends of the spectrum right now. Hull, they're tied with Lincoln, top of the table. They haven't allowed a goal in all year. They were a team that most people were thinking might struggle after getting relegated last year. Meanwhile, Fleetwood, they've been one of those teams that's just been kind of quietly creeping their way up the standings over the past few years. And we thought, okay, maybe this is the year that Joey Barton gets them into the promotion area. And right now, it's been anything but that. They're 22nd in the table right now, or excuse me, 21st in the table right now. So Tony, do you think that we're going to see an upset in this one, or would you call it an upset, or what do you see happening? This is an interesting match all the way.
Well, I think it is. I mean, on paper, one would pick a whole victory based on the fact they haven't given up a goal and they're undefeated so far. Fleetwood, really are not playing well defensively, but I just got the feeling on this match that it's going to be a draw. I think Fleetwood's going to get it. I think Fleetwood's going to get a goal, but Hull is going to be able to come out of there with a point. I just don't see Fleetwood continuing on this downward trend. They've got too decent a team, but although they're not playing that well, I would expect Joey Barton to get on these players this week and expect a better performance out of them. So I'm going to go with 1-1, Phil. What do you think on the scoreline?
Well, I'm kind of on track with you. I don't think that we're going to see an easy Hull victory in this one. And this is one where I kind of actually wanted to look at the gambling line on and see what the odds makers had. Now, this one is at Fleetwood. And taking a look at it here, right now, Fleetwood is plus 175. So that basically means for every $10 that you're betting, you win $17.50 plus your 10 backs. That's $27.50 on a $10 bet. Hull City, they're at plus 155, which is $25.50 on a $10 bet. And then the draw is at plus 225, which is going to pay you back $32.50 on a $10 bet. So basically, anytime the draw is paying less than $35 on a $10 bet. That tells me that the casino is guarding against a draw. The other thing is you could bet on both Fleetwood and Hull and make money no matter who wins. That again tells me that the casino is guarding against a draw, and especially these plus 175 and plus 155. I mean, these are bigger than 1.5 to 1 payouts. I mean, that's telling me that the casino is just begging people to pick anything but the draw. So I'm going to say 0-0.
Wow. Okay. I'm writing this one down because we could be right, but as we've seen in the past, you just never know. But I think this one's going to be a tighter affair, and let's see if we get a draw on that one. The next one I had up, Phil, was Lincoln versus Bristol Rovers, and every time I sort of picked against Lincoln, they've proved me wrong. So this time I am actually going with a 3-1 win for Lincoln at home over Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no reason to see the Lincoln train stopping anywhere soon. Looking at the gambling line, Bristol is at plus 320. That means you can make more than 3 times your money betting on Bristol. Lincoln's at a minus 112, which means you're betting $10 to win about $8.80 or $18.80 back on your $10 bets. I mean, you're not even getting even money on Lincoln. That tells me that the casino is pretty confident that this is going to come in either a Lincoln win or a draw. I don't think the Imps train slows down this weekend. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Imps.
Okay, sounds good. Next one I had up was 7th place Swindon against, I think, a surprising team, really, so far, AFC Wimbledon at 12th. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw on this one, Phil.
All right. Well, I think with AFC Wimbledon, there's 2 things that I took out of last week's match. The first one was that I thought that maybe we saw the real AFC Wimbledon for the first time. The other thing that I did take away, though, is Ryan Longman, who is the gentleman that scored the goal. He seems to be the real deal. So, I mean, with Longman and Piggott up front, they do seem to have a legitimate scoring threat. Longman, he actually had 5 shots, 2 on target, including the goal, which is a dead even 40%. So he was a very active player. Piggott didn't get an assist on the goal, but he was the one that hit the first shot that hit off the woodwork. So it was pretty much as good as an assist. So those 2 really seem to have some chemistry. So I think that Wimbledon is going to be a little bit more dangerous scoring-wise. But as Sean McConville pointed out, they're a team that's going to let you have the ball. And they rely on their midfield to press and kind of try to create turnovers. So if you're able to break their press, you're going to be able to get some goals against them. So I think that we might see, just kind of taking a look here at the betting lines of this one. See, you got Swindon at minus 106, which is just a little less than even money. You got Wimbledon at plus 275, which is almost 3-1. And then what really catches my eye here is that the draw is at plus 255, which just pushes it just a nudge over that $35 on a $10 bet range. So that tells me they're not thinking it's going to be a draw. I think they really like Swindon in this one. I'm going to go 3-1 Swindon.
Okay, I went with the draw, and an interesting fact that really caught my eye is both teams have scored 8 and conceded 8. So both teams can score, yet both teams are give up goals. So based on that fact, and that was a key fact in determining for me that I think I could see a draw on that one. And next up we have is a couple of teams that we haven't really talked about much. Is Doncaster at home to Shrewsbury. We got Doncaster fifth place. They've got 8 goals for against. Only lost one match. They've got our old friend. I shouldn't say old friend. He's still a young lad, a friend of the show.
He's only half my age.
Yeah, Joe Bursick in nets and obviously playing well. And Shrewsbury 19th position in the league. I've got this one as a home victory for Doncaster, and I'm going to go with a 2-1 scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, Madger Gomez has been huge for them this year so far. He's got 3 goals. Like you said, Joseph Bursick is playing well. And so far this season, Donny has not been out of their element. Did you watch that movie yet, Tony?
Yes, I did. And let's just say it's not in my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
But at least you'll get my jokes now when I say Donnie's out of their element here.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably the funniest part of the whole movie, Phil, to be honest with you.
You can't tell me you didn't think it was funny at the end when they throw out the ashes and then the wind blows them back.
Well, yeah, but that's physical comedy. That part was, but it some of the lines in it were, well, let's just say it's not one of my top favorites.
It's one you got to watch more than once to start picking up a little stuff. What about the scene with the baseball bat in the car? That's a all-time classic scene.
Well, maybe if I have a white Russian that he drinks in the movie. Maybe then I'll enjoy the film a bit more.
Yeah, that's what you got to get you up Russian. Well, I don't think the Shrews are going to be saying "shut up, Donnie" this week.
Well, and Shrewsbury, I mean, they've got 3 draws, but they haven't got a win yet. I mean, the best I could hope for them is a draw, but I just see Doncaster winning. And did we get a scoreline for you on that one, Phil?
Well, not yet, because I was actually gonna talk about the betting line, and it seems like our friends at DraftKings.com are kind of thinking the same thing that you are, because they have the draw line at plus 225, so it's below that 35 on a $10 bet line there that I always like to look for. So that tells me they are guarding against it. However, with the Shrews, they're at plus 315. They're paying more than 3-1. Casino is begging you to bet on the Shrews. Donnie's coming in at minus 106, which is just below even money. That's like $9.40 on a $10 bet there. But, I tend to maybe favor that draw in this one, Tony, and I'll go 1-1.
Okay, sounds good. And that brings us to our last match of our preview for next week, and that's Stanley at home to Rochdale, 17th place Rochdale, who, as we know, picked up their first win of the season. They're going to come in, on a high, and Rochdale always seems to give Stanley a tough time. But having said that, I think Stanley's got their confidence back. I think that was a huge win for the boys and a huge learning curve because of the team being so young. I was impressed with the short spell that John Russell had. He's hard to believe he's only 19, but he looks like he's got potential. And
absolutely,
I think John Coleman will give him some playing time, whether it's a start or off the bench. So I'm actually going for Stanley to get some goals this week. And I'm going to go with a 3-1 win.
Well, the odds makers have Stanley as a outright favorite. They're minus 106, which means they're just less than even money. And Tony, I know that you said that when Stanley goes to the favorite side of things, he is with a tend to lay an egg sometimes.
Yeah, they don't handle it well sometimes, unfortunately. But I think I'm confident in them this week that they can pull it off.
Here's where I'm super torn. Is so Rochdale, they've given Stanley fits the past 2 years, but it was always Ian Henderson and Callum Camps that were the guys giving Stanley fits, and both of those guys are gone now. So it's a completely different Rochdale team. Oh man, this is a really.
Rochdale aren't scoring a lot of goals. They've only scored 3, and they got 2 in the last match. They've given up 6. Yeah, just I think things are pointing to, well, for me anyway. I'm as I say, I'm gonna stick with that 3-1 with Stanley win.
Oh man, I just have such a tough time.
I think you're heading for a draw. Are you, Phil?
So the last time Stanley played Rochdale was at the Wham Stadium on New Year's, 2-1 loss. Before that, they played on October 12th, 2019. That one was at Rochdale, 2-1 loss. They played on April 9th, 2019, Accrington Stanley versus Rochdale at the Wham Stadium, 0-1 loss. November 24th, 2018, Rochdale versus Accrington Stanley at Rochdale, 1-0 loss. Accrington has lost 6 games in a row against Rochdale. Do you know that Stanley hasn't beaten Rochdale since 26 February 2013?
Phil, that and £1.50 will get you a pint of Ruddles at Witherspoon's pub in Accrington. So that's in the past. That's history. I just don't see Rochdale winning this one. And history is, as I say, it's in the past. It's a different squad. A lot of the players for Stanley this year haven't played against Rochdale. In fact, a lot of them haven't played in the League One before. So I think you can throw that out the window on that. But I'm seeing a win here for Stanley.
I'm going to say 2-1 to the Rock.
You're going with 2-1 for Rochdale?
2-1 Rochdale.
Oh, Phil.
I'm not saying that's what I want to happen. I'm saying this is one of those weird derby games. And Rochdale's done it to us 6 times in a row. And I know that there's no Callum Camps. And I know that there's no Ian Henderson. But Stanley has not beaten Rochdale since February of 2013. They haven't even had any draws in there. 6 losses in a row. I don't believe Stanley can beat Rochdale. Prove me wrong.
I think you and I are going to fall out. This is probably a good time to wrap up the show, Phil, because because I got nothing else to say to you, my friend.
Hey, I got to say something controversial to get the ratings up.
Yeah, there you go.
So Tony, so you don't have any parting thoughts there?
Oh, only if you don't play a sport, be one.
Well, and hopefully everybody will be a good sport and know that I'm rooting for a Stanley victory, maybe trying to use a bit of reverse psychology here.
There you go. There you go.
And as always, we finish up on Stanley
on. Cheers, Phil.